Hello everyone, welcome to That's How I Roll, and this will be session one of my using ShadowDark to play in the world that I created. And so in my little session zero videos I showed you how to create the world, I showed you how to create your settlement, I showed you how to build out your settlements by rolling up your taverns, your shops, your NPCs, to kind of flesh out the world. And then I showed you on the last video how to create a adventure. And so tonight I'm going to run this adventure and show you how I do solo. There's a lot of different, there's just a zillion different channels out there doing different solo stuff. And so this isn't like, this is the way, this bottom line, this is just the way I play. It's not the way that, is it the best way to play or, everything is going to be based upon what your schedule is, right? So you could be someone who has plenty of time to sit down and you got an hour or two to commit to playing every day. Or maybe you're just someone who is like me. I have a lot of different interests and hobbies. And so it's kind of like, I just want to get my RPG fix in today, and I want to sit down for maybe 20 or 30 minutes, run a little adventure, get something done, get something accomplished, and then able to, just get my feel for the day. And so by doing that, I've created a way in which I play and run my dungeons. And I really do this for group play as well. Sometimes when I just have a group that wants to say, hey, let's get together and play, I use the same technique. I can build up my world. We always will play in the same city, town, or whatever. But really, they just want to sit down. They want to play. They want to roll the dice and get something done, get that fix. And so I'm just going to show you how I do it. If you want to, in comments below, you can just tell me ways that you do it, or maybe ways that maybe I could do things better. But what I'm doing is going to show you how I do it. And this is really for people who are just like me. I want to get my fix in. I do want to tell a story. Like I said, I like episodic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep the same characters, well, until they die in ShadowDark. But I am going to try something a little bit different with this, and that is I went on ShadowDark and I made 4 0-level characters. And the reason, and I know when you make 0-level characters for a gauntlet, the thing about it is that it's for each player to have a 0-level character, and then that character has 1 hit point, so they can die quickly. And I understand that's a danger because all these have 1 hit point. However, I want to try to tell my story starting with a group of 4 people who are starting out and want to be adventurers, but they haven't done enough to get first level. And I know it's kind of an interesting thing because I was looking at, as I was running these characters, rolling them up, one of them is a background as a ranger, and then another one is a soldier. But if you look into ShadowDark under soldier, they have better stats as a monster as they do. You would think being a soldier would give a little bit of advantage, but it doesn't, and that's fine. And so what I want to do is I'm going to start out with this little group. I'm going to tell my little story and get started. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my setup. Once I do my setup, I'm going to jump right to the adventure. What we did last time is what we rolled up was free the hunter in the catacombs. The adventure side is the Citadel of the Cursed Skull. And so, and it's a cave that's around the Citadel. So I was looking at my map, and I had pointed that up here in, up in this area, basically, northwest of my town, there is in Hex 18, there is a monster nest hiding a great treasure. And then I rolled, as I was rolling my dungeon, I rolled, number 9 as the treasure room. Well, I decided, but I was also looking that in my forest hex here, I do have another one, and it's called a fortified keep, and it's abandoned ruins. And so I thought, instead of having my guys go that far, because I could roll, you know, if I wanted to sit down, I could roll as they travel from each hex and see what happens, see what kind of adventure comes from that. But what I really want to do is I kind of want to show off right at the beginning, you know, how I run an adventure. And we will get to that when they move to a hex, because what I do is sometimes I sit down and I just roll on a random encounter. If they're in the forest, I go to the forest chart with a random encounter, and I start there. I just roll and say, oh, you know what? They're in the market today. Let's roll an encounter and see what happens with my characters. And I just play out whatever I roll for 20 or 30 minutes, and I will build a ShadowDark map the same way, because I use it for everything. I use it for dungeons. I use it for urban adventures. I use it for wilderness adventures. I use it for everything, because what it does is allows me to create a dynamic environment in which my players, my characters can play, that will give me exactly what I'm looking for in a, and we'll see that as we go along, because I plan on just, you know, I don't care if anybody watches really. I just want to do this as just put it up there for me as much as it is for someone watching. So let's get into what I do tonight. But so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start with 4 0 level characters. I have gone through today and I said, okay, well, there's on number 4 in my world is this ruins. I'm gonna make that to be the Citadel of the Cursed Skull. So right now I know that this number 4 here, Fortified Keep, is going to be my Citadel of the Cursed Skull, and I'll put this on here as a different spot. And so, and then it's free to hunter in the catacombs. So basically, as I looked at my dungeon, I had, you know, these areas. So like I said last time, there's 2 different ways that I can run a dungeon. I can build it the way that it says in the book, that you just roll the 4 dice wherever they land. You just kind of build your dungeon out. And like I said, if you're wondering why I'm using hexes, is because I'm a point crawl, hex crawl type of player, because it's just a lot. It's that thing that Professor Dungeon Master talks in one of his great videos about removing the shoe leather. And it's just like any kind of story you read, TV show, or movie, they cut scene to scene to scene to scene. So each hex to me, it's just basically a scene. So I'm just removing a lot of this, instead of having out and them going, well, which way you want to go? Left, right, let me come oracle. Which way are they going? Okay, that way, or whatever. I just basically go from one hex to the other, straight down the line, as if that's the next part of the scene of the adventure. So it's just basically, think of it as they come into entrance, it's an empty room. Like I said last time, an empty room is not, to me, an empty room. It's something that gives me clues or details, foreshadowing, something that gives the party a little bit of hey. And I think Kelsey talks about it in the game part, when she talks about letting, let's see if I can find it real quick. I should have done this before I did, but there is about letting them know in a way, giving them time to know what's coming up without, you know, you're not giving away anything, but it allows, gets some foreshadowing. It gives them, sets them in an adventure, sets them forward. Telegraph danger. When you remove predictability, you'll want to add a replacement ingredient, telegraphing danger. Don't make threats a secret unless the players utterly fail to gather information. If the characters are getting close to a manticore cave, describe the crushed skulls and bones and the reek of rotting meat and the silence of the birds. So that's really what I look for in an empty room. So I'll write that down there to remind me. Clues, details, foreshadowing. But what I do is I instead of doing this, this is what I would do sometimes if I had a party in a group. But when it comes to solo play, I just want to sit down, grab my characters, roll up my adventure, build a little story about why they're out there. And these little, by the way, these little character sheets, I'm going to put it down in the description below, came from Matt Jackson, does a solo channel as well. And he created these 4 ShadowDark characters. And in the back, what I like is it gives me lines to kind of, this is where I'm going to journal my characters. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can use this book that I've created. It's the Game Master's Design, Adventure Design Kit, or whatever I call it, to just get your world, and then you can get your own journal. However you want to play. If you want to journal and write it out like a story, if you want to just bullet point it, whatever you want to do. What I'm trying to do with this channel also is trying to figure out how to make, I like everything in one folder. So I'm trying to figure out as I go along, and y'all's advice would be helpful as well, of how to maybe incorporate inside, like instead of having another map out here, maybe having a journaling page for my characters of what's going on, story ideas. However, but these things work. I think this might work well because I can keep all 4 of my characters here, because I'm always just going to have 4 characters. When one dies, I'm just going to replace one somehow, some way. And then I can just write here and put it in here, and then once this gets up, I can come back and redo it, redo it, start again, and I can always keep this part, but then my character sheets, and then I'll go to another one, probably number this like 1 or 2. I'm trying to figure out ways to do this a little bit better, because I just like one book. So that's what I'm trying to develop, because I've watched so many channels and they have stuff everywhere, and some people do it really. One thing I like about Mike Jackson is he uses a tablet, but he's very artistic, and so he uses his stuff. He uses a tablet. He's able to record it and draw it as he plays, and that's really cool. And I've used journals before, but really what I want to do is try to figure out how to get this all in one book. Okay, so let's get started here. So what I'm going to do is I'm showing you 2 different styles. This is the one style you can do if you want something that looks more like a dungeon. You're free to do, like she says, draw the rooms and draw how they connect. That's fine. I do mine by hex. But this is really the way I play. I roll my rooms up and I put them in order. And usually I put them down straight in the middle here. And then I'm able to use the side for notes. But I go straight down the line here. So when my party shows up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my party here. I know it's hard to read, but I'm just going to tell you what I have. I got this right off of ShadowDark links. You go on there, you hit 4, it will create you 4 random generated level 0 characters. And then you hit the PDF and it pops up, and I just went in and filled this out. So I have Sharon, the human. She's an urchin, neutral alignment. She's got 1 hit point, 12 armor class. Here's her stats right here in the middle. She carries a dagger, which she has +2/2 because of her high dex. And then she doesn't have any talents because she's a 0 level character. But she's an urchin named Sharon. Now, the reason I'm doing this like with 0 levels is because I want my story to go where they start using the NPCs in town, maybe to gain training. Because one of the things that's really cool about the book, and I know you probably get on this session, but not, is that you have the title page, right? And so when you have these title characters and someone's a footpad or a thug or burglar, those things should be adding flavor to your characters. So, but I want them to legitimately get these titles in my story. So if I start with some 0 level characters, yes, their hit points and I could change that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pulpy rule set, the pulpy mode that's in the book for pulp mode, that allows that you can give 1d4 luck tokens. So I'm going to kind of use that to balance it. So the luck tokens they can use to make the GM re-roll something or to do a critical hit or something like that. Maybe give them a little bit better chance of survival as 0 level characters. So I have Sharon, the human, in there. She's a street urchin. I have Imrib, the human chaotic ranger. And so in there, in the book, they have the backgrounds, and each background tells you what the gives you a little. Should be right. It's right past the title. It should give you a little. It gives you a little bit of what they. What was in the background? That was right after the titles here. Anyway, sorry. backgrounds. Oh, here they are. So under backgrounds, it tells you, like a ranger, the woods and the wilds are your true home. And so your background knowledge and skill may prove useful during your adventures. It provides you advantage in given situations. So as an urchin, you grew up in the merciless streets of a large city. So I have Imrib, the human, chaotic. He was a ranger as his background. And then I have Mill, the halfling. He's lawful, and he was a surgeon. And so that allows him to have, anatomy, surgery, and first aid. And then I got Ham, another halfling. So I got 2 humans, 2 halflings. He's a lawful. He was a soldier. His deity is Madeira. And so that's going, I'm sure that's going to play in. And so I have 2 halflings and I have 2 humans. And the way I'm going to build how they came together is the fact that I'm going to use this idea. I have a neutral, chaotic, and 2 lawful halflings. And so my idea for the story, as I was looking at it today, was, the free the hunter in the catacombs. So Imrib knows as a ranger, this hunter is a friend of his, and so he has gone to one of the local taverns, and I can go over here and I can just pick one. As that he went to the Silver Dragon in the Low District, and there Cowsby, who's a halfling, so that would make sense, is he's trying to find people that can help him help his friend, the hunter who is trapped. And he knew that the hunter was going off to the Citadel because there's been rumors of a treasure in here, and that the hunter wanted to go off, and they wanted to go off in there, and something happened, and so Imrib knows the way to the adventure. He's trying to get someone to help him, and so he goes to the tavern. Cowsby gets them. Says, "Yeah, I know some people who can help," and he gets people who are looking for work. So he gets Ham, the soldier, who decides to go along with him, and the halfling, who's a surgeon. And so I would probably think that with him being a soldier and him being a surgeon, is that he was some kind of medic in the military. And so they're together as a soldier and a medic. And then also one of the urchins that hangs out around in town is someone who is willing to go and risk their life for this treasure. And I just kind of like the idea that with Imrib being chaotic in nature, I don't know if he can really, is he really telling them the truth of what's going on? He knows that, who's this hunter guy? Is it really his friend? Is it someone who he had just heard was going off and that he wanted to go with him, like one of his hunter buddies? The hunter, one of his ranger buddies who was going off, and he heard his treasure. And so I'm playing off his chaotic, his selfishness in a way, as part of this group of that he's the main driver of this, and that he's the one that's interested in going and finding out what's going on, to help free this hunter that he that's in the catacombs. And so they head off. So they leave the town and they head off to the Citadel, which is, within walking, which is in a couple miles outside the town. And they come to this cave. And so the entrance of the cave, underneath the Citadel, because it's on the Citadel of the Cursed Skull, so it probably has little cave entrances that once you stand back and you look further away, it looks like a cave. It looks like a skull. And so they go, and him using his ranger his ranger abilities, he's able to track the passage of this hunter as to find out which cave that he went into. So let's say there's 3 or 4 entrances that went to the nose and the ears, the nose, the eyes, the mouth type of thing. And so he knows which one of these that he went into, and kind of think, that maybe people don't know exactly which one's the entrance or something like that, but he's able to find out exactly which one he went into And so it starts. And so what they do is they come into the cave, entrance number 1 here. And I know that number 1 is clues and details and finding something. And so what I will do is, because it's empty and they have a little bit of time, also the thing about Imrib that's kind of interesting about him is that he has no weapons. So when you roll up a 0 level character in the book, you can use the random if you want, but I used a random generator, which was based upon the book. He doesn't have any weapons. So he carries a crowbar, what the heck is that? A crowbar, an iron spike, and a torch. So he's the one who decides that, hey, come help me out. And he is the one that's going to just hold the torch. So I'm gonna play with this fact that he's kind of, he has a high, he's high intelligence, wisdom, has a good charisma, and so he's kind of talked them into coming with him. And plus it allows a little dynamic into my group. Is that Imrib, is he really someone that you could trust? And so Imrib is the one that's like, hey, you guys come along. You own weapons. You guys go and do the fighting. I can get us there. I can track us there. But once we get in there, I'll hold the torch, but I need someone who can help me. So they go into the first room. And when they start to realize, they come into the first room. And so I'm going to roll 2 things with advantage to make sure if he finds decent tracks. I'm going to make it a DC, and it should be, easy for him to do. So with it being a normal DC, it's a DC 12. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm going to say it's just basically a normal DC, but he's going to, so 17, he finds in there, he finds tracks. Not only does he find tracks that he thinks could be the human tracks that he sees in the dust and the dirt and stuff, but what he does, he sees because this is a cave entrance, he notices that there are other tracks as well. A big set of tracks and a set of 2 sets of human tracks, and then a bigger set of creature tracks that are going into the dungeon, and so into these caves. And so that makes him a little, nervous and more, but he looks and he's like, they went this way, here's the tracks, I can see that they've come through here, and that they continue down into the cave. And so in the first room, they get these caves. And one thing I need to do first before I go, because I did tell them that each one would get luck tokens. And so when you use the mode that is the pulp mode, they each get 1d4 tokens. So on page 111, you see that they have, under pulp mode, player starts each sessions with 1d4 luck tokens. So let me roll for those each. So my pencil, I want to write everything with pencil. So my pencil, so that she's going to have 4 luck tokens to start. And Bib has 1 luck token. No wonder he's letting them do what needs to be done. 3 luck tokens for Mill, the halfling. And Ham has 1, the soldier. And again, luck tokens, as you know, you can use a luck token to turn a hit into a critical hit. You can use a luck token to take an extra action, or you can use a luck token to force the GM to re-roll a roll. I'm using this just for the simple fact that I do have 0 level characters, and I don't want to create 12 of them and rush them into a dungeon or replace one. I want to see what happens when these 4, because there's ways to get more characters. As I'm going back and they go to town, I want to I can get back. If they make it back, then I can build more characters. I can fill them in if I need to. So they go through the first room, and they go through the first room to find out the tracks. So then they go immediately to room number 5. And so as they go into the next room, the second room, which I rolled a 5 on, this is where there's a sneaky spellcaster. And so as I was looking through looking through the book, trying to decide on what kind of monster I want. What do I want in here? And so what I decided to do is to make that this sneaky spellcaster that's in this next room as they're tracking in, holding their torches, is an apprentice. And so who is here also looking for stuff. And so he just decided to come. He's out on his own adventure as well. And so he is in here sneaking around, trying to see what he can find in this adventure. And so I'm going to roll to see what his NPC reaction is to them when they come through, and so that I can figure out if he decides that he wants to help them because he sees another party of them, if he wants to stay hidden because he's a sneaky spellcaster and see if they'll pass him by, or does he want to engage them because he's in the room and he sees them coming down the hall, and because he sees the light, he's got the light source and he has his own light source, but he notices them first, and he basically stuffs out his torch, runs into hide as they come down to see who's coming, because that's my sneaky spellcaster. So I'm going to roll to see what he thinks when they come rolling down the pack. So I'm gonna get it's 2d6 plus a charisma modifier, right? So he has no modifier. So let's see what happens. 3. So he rolls a 9. He's neutral to them as they come down the path. And so what I'm going to do is see if he's going to hide and see if they see him, see who they are. So they come in, they're following the tracks, and Imrib is looking around, and he comes into the room and he starts to see that the 3 tracks still go through this room, and he notices that, one of them, he's following him, and then he goes to a certain point, and let's see if he notices, with his ranger ability, let's see if he notices if one of the tracks are still in this room that hasn't gotten much further. So 18. So he notices that something is up because he rolled 18. And so he starts using his porch and waving around the room, and the apprentice starts to see that, hey, they're more than likely they're going to find me. And he's neutral, so he steps out and he says, he tells them, says, hey, don't hurt me. I'm just here. Hey, fellow travelers, fellow adventurers, I'm here. What? And just kind of steps out from them. And so they're going to, because they're neutral, and he doesn't because he's neutral at them, he's not coming across as a threatening manager. They kind of do act surprise, and they hold their weapons and they look at him. And one of the halflings will say, Ham, who's a soldier, he is like, what are you doing here? Who are you? And so he says, my name is, let's get him a name here from, I can get to NPCs. All right, D20. Should have already rolled a 1. IR plus on 17 and a 4. His name is Ironel, 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 and he's a human wizard. He says, my name is Arnell, and I just came into here looking for, to find out if I've heard of, that this place might contain treasures and magic, and so I'm just here as an apprentice trying to seek out from my master, to try to seek out what I can find in here. Is kind of he sends me on these little quests to test my new abilities and skills and see what I can find, and I'm just curious about here, And they kind of look at him like, man, you're here all by your lonesome. And he's like, well, you know, I don't know if there's really anything in this cave. And that's when you know, of danger, you know, I haven't seen anything, and I scouted a little bit, haven't seen anything. And so I thought I would come on in here, and I haven't really seen anything. And so Imrib tells him, he uses his torch and he shows down and he goes, well, I had a hunter friend come in here and you can see his tracks go deeper, but look at these. And he sees these larger footprints that are following him in. And he's like, these are fresh and there's got to be something in here. And so Ironel is basically saying, hey, so hey, can I just travel along with you guys, you know? And so they're going to make a decision, and I'm going to say that they're going to trust him because he came out with a neutral. I'm going to say that they trust him, and I'm going to roll on my oracle. You know, it's a D20, and because I think it's likely or certain, I'm going to roll with advantage. So the first one is no, and the next one is a 14, which is yes. And so they're going to agree to take Lionel with them further into the dungeon. And part of that is because they also look and they see, you know, he looks like he's somewhat competent. And them being, you know, kind of new to this and just new to this adventuring thing. And they think, okay, I need all the help I can get. So they go off. So they add Lionel to, I'm just going to have him here as I'm just going to leave him on here, and I'm just going to use his stats that's in the monster book. And I know that, so when you roll and it says a solo monster, and then also one of your choices is an NPC, because I want to talk about this because people might say, well, you know, it is a solo monster. Well, the way I look at it is the apprentice is in the monster section of the book. So that gives me opportunities and I think what I like about having this as part of the monster part of the book is that it allows me, you know, monster statistics, right? And here sits the apprentice. And I think what that allows me to do, and it has his alignment as neutral as well, it allows me to me, an NPC is someone I would roll up and have a whole lot, roll up different stats and different, you know, and there's the NPCs. When you do roll it up on the ShadowDark map, you can roll. It has rolls for that, like when you choose your adventure. So when you roll on the adventure map and you do roll an NPC, it tells you if they're hiding, captive, wounded, or rival crawlers. But there's nothing in here that says that, to me, if it says solo monster and the monster's in here, I can use this, I can pull Knight's apprentice if I think it makes the story make somewhat of a sense. So kind of what I wanted is to show that is, because I looked at it back and forth, I said, well, if I just make this a neutral apprentice, then what that will do is it'll allow me to, he could be a monster depending on how his reaction is, or, you know, he can act that way, or he can act to help the party. And start, since I was starting with 0 level characters, I'm trying to build up. And here's the other thing that I'm looking at. I'm looking at abilities to first level characters, go from 0 to first level characters. They're going to tell a story. How does that character become a wizard? How does he become a cleric? How does he become a fighter? How does he become, get these titles? Well, if you want it to be part of your story and you're starting with characters who are just starting to be 0 level and they're starting, you have to give them ways in which they can become those things. So if one of these characters decides, hey, I want to be, because they're not anything yet, I want to be a wizard, by throwing the apprentice in here, it gives me another story point so that I can, if I rolled when they got here, I wasn't going to roll to see, I just knew he was neutral. I'm going to roll and see how it all works out. But if he survives, if he did become some form of ally, it allows me to bring him back into my city, and I can try to find out who he's apprenticed to, so that allows my other character, especially if he helps them on this adventure, and they survive, then that gives me another story point by this apprentice. Because, you know, most people I don't think about it is like, how does a 0 level character become a 1st level character? I mean, all right, he's a surgeon. Does that mean he's automatically a cleric? Maybe. It means maybe he'll want to do, you know, I don't know what he'll want to do. But this will allow me at least to give me another story point with my apprentice. So they gather the apprentice, they grab Ironel, and Ironel comes with them. And so they move on to the next room. And the next room, as they go in, is going to be where there's a solo monster, and the monster's a mighty brute. And so the creature that I decided to be the mighty brute is another person who would be searching out these tunnels, who's sneakily trying to sneak out to find this, and that would be a bugbear. So this bugbear is the one who's decided to go into these caves and seek them out. And so as he's moving and walking through, he is, you know, because the reason I picked a bugbear is because it's a level 3 monster, which makes him kind of dangerous, especially against level 1 characters. But also it gives him advantage on hide and sneak. So he's a stealthy type of creature. So he would go in here by himself. And I know from rolling it up, it's got to be a solo monster. So I have to pick one why are they in here and what are they doing? So he is going to take his hide and seek here, and that is going to allow him, so 18, he is able to sneak and hide. It was a 1 and a 15, so he's able to sneak and he's able to hide. And so because of that, the group comes through. Imrid, the ranger, is still looking down, following the tracks, and he kind of knows that they're kind of on their guard, but because it's dark, ShadowDark, they only have their torch. I'm going to allow the bugbear to jump out and ambush them, because he made his stealth on hide and seek, and he's going to jump out, hide and sneak and hide. So he jumps out and he attacks the party. And so I have my bugbear, and so what I normally do is I can use a special, but I just use my map to do everything, because normally I don't have this whole map. I just have this. So I use this to to do my DM notes. So I have my bugbear, and I know he's an AC 13, hit points 14, and then he has 2 attacks with a spike mace. Boy, he's gonna be dangerous. And with it at a +3, and he does a 1d6. So he leaps out, and he swings with his spike mace at the party. And so the party is going to be led by Ham, the soldier, will be the one who's kind of, the Imri will be in the front with the torch, kind of holding, not the front, but kind of behind holding the torch, and they're kind of spread out around him. And so he's going to jump out. And so I'm going to roll to see who he goes after and attacks. And so let's see, we have 5 characters. Roll a d6. 3, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3. So he comes out swinging at Mill, the halfling, who has a short bow, but there's nothing he can do when he comes out with a mace. So here we go. He rolls so the bugbear rolls a 4, so he swings and he misses, but he gets 2 attacks, and he rolls a 5. So he jumps out of with a roar, he jumps out of his hiding place, swinging his mace, spike mace, and luckily he missed, so I didn't even have to use the luck token. So he misses, and because of after the surprise round of him coming out, let me double check I'm making these right, because I don't know what I'm thinking. Has advantage on surprise. If combat started at those with surprise, take 1 turn before the combat initiative roll. The creature has advantage on attack rolls against surprise targets. So I knew that. I was thinking about it. Attacking from hiding gives away the attacker's position after, unless the GM determines otherwise. So on the first swing, he misses him, but he gets advantage. He rolled a number 5, and then he rolled an 8. So he misses. With the +2 would be a 10. So he missed because he has an armor class of 11. So he still swings and misses. So the bugbear swings, and so now it goes to Inish. So as we know, we roll initiative on for the party against this bugbear. So we roll, and it's combat rounds. So we make a dexterity check. Let's see what my bugbear's dexterity is. Bugbear's dexterity is 0, so let's make a roll. So the bugbear, he rolls a 2, and Shavin rolls a 7, rolls a 12. So let me write these down here. So I'm gonna use a pen. So he uses a 7. He rolled a 2. Right here, he rolled a 12. Well, he rolled a 9. Excuse me. 6. He rolled a 7, and then he rolled a 14. And then my apprentice. I should have wrote his stats down. I should be a little more organized. Yep. +1, and Ironel. His initiative was a 18. Okay, so Ironel reacts first. So Ironel decides that he is going to shoot a magical bolt. He has a DC of 11. It's an intel spell. His intel is he's got +2, so he rolls a 17. He casts, and he rolls a 1d4 points of damage, and he does 2 points. So the bugbear's down to 12. That's excellent. The mage is always coming and handled it. And then, so now Ham jumps forward. Well, he doesn't step forward. He steps back. He unleashes a short bow. And that is 15. He hits. And so he does 1d4 damage as well. 2. All right, sweet. There. Because the bugbear has an armor class of 13. All right, and the next is the halfling with their short bow. Reaches out, he's got +1. Rolls a 15, and he does a d4. So he does 2 points of damage, down to 8. Well, it would have went here, but the ranger is going to back up a little bit because he has no weapons. He's just holding the torch. He's not going to swing the torch towards him. He's just going to kind of back up and stay out of combat. And then Shalvin, the human, is going to she's going to step forward to street urchin with her dagger. And 19, it all hits. She does d4 points of damage. She does 2. All right, so they make a so he rolls down to half his more than half of his hit points are gone. So they had a good first round with him missing. Boy, my level 0s have a. So now my enemy, who's reduced half their number, or so may flee if they fail a DC 15 Wisdom check. So the bugbear is going to see if he can flee on his move. Make the roll. 14 with a wisdom check. I'd be surprised if my bugbear has any pluses to wisdom. 0. So he rolls a 14. So the bugbear is going to turn, instead of fleeing out of the. Let's see which way he goes. Okay. So we'll does he run out the cavern, or does he flee deeper into the cavern? So let's roll with this. And I'm going to say even chance. We can go either way. 10 with a twist. Something unexpected happens. Roll on a prompt to determine its nature. So let's go on 11 and let's try to use these prompts. So I got my 34. The verb is forbid. And 06. Forbid memory. Okay, so what I'm going to say is that the twist is the forbid memory is that he forbid memory. My first inclination is for him to not flee towards the back. Forbid, he wants to stop a memory. Well, I think this is because it doesn't say yes or no, even though he flees. He's going to have a memory of, I guess the forbid memory would be, he would have the memory of fleeing before. And he really doesn't want to flee because he doesn't want to go back. So what that's going to mean is he's not going to flee to the entrance to leave because he's scared if he goes back, he'd become a failure. Forbid memory, that's the only thing I could think of. And he's a bugbear, but it's the only thing I think of. So he flees back into the back of the cave. He's going to go back this way. Right, and so he's going to head back. And as he flees back, he is going to, in the next room is dense rubble. And so he flees back into the rubble, and it's a DC 12. And so what I'm going to have him do is I'm going to make him make a DC check as a dexterity, because he runs back into an area that has dense rubble. And I'm going to see if he's able to crawl over this dense rubble and keep flying that way, or if he gets stuck in the dense rubble. Let's see what happens here. So there is, if you go to hazards, there is a hazards chart, and I'm just gonna go to the front. Sorry, I don't have all these things marked, but that's just the way it is. I'm just showing you, you're going to do the same thing in the book unless you just have this thing memorized, and I don't have it memorized. So hazards on page 115, but however, it's all in one book. So I have loose debris. Okay, so I'm going to roll and see what happens as so I'm going to say he's got loose debris, which allows for extra falling debris, and see if it lands on him. So he's going to make a dex check as a bugbear. His dex is +0, 11. He fails his DC. So as he runs into this room, because he's panicking, he flees into this room. He falls on some of the rubble, and he is going to take damage. I'm just going to say 1d6. It's going to take 3 points of damage. Just going to knock him down to 3. And then, does that debris trap him? So I'm going to go to my oracle real quick. I'm going to roll 16. Yes. So he is trapped under the debris. And so the party sees him flee off, and they kind of look at each other, and their adrenaline's pumping for being in combat, and this is like the soldier, he's been in here before, but he still has his adrenaline, and the other ones are, especially the street urchin, jumping in with her dagger. It's probably the first time she's ever tried to stab and kill someone. And so they're all just kind of standing there in amazement as they are able to fend off this creature that came out of the darkness at them. And so they, after a few minutes, they continue, they creep forward, because they hear, as he runs into the room, they hear this large crashing of debris. They hear the monster make a noise, and they walk in there and they see that he is trapped underneath the debris and he can't get up. And so the halfling, even though he's a lawful soldier, it doesn't mean that he wouldn't. He knows that the dangers of these creatures and what they can do. Maybe he's been on the battlefield, and he knows that the easiest thing is to, because chaotic creatures, is to put them down. So he'll go over and he will just take his sword and he'll finish off the creature. And so they make it past the bugbear, and they start to look around in the debris, and they see that the debris is clogging up and it's piled up out of the way, blocking their way, and two, but they can kind of through the porch look through, and they see that there's another room. And so I'm going to make a roll to see if they, just as in general, if they make it a 2, so they do not. So the path ahead of them is one that they're going to have to clear to get through, because they can see that it goes forward, but they cannot make it as of right now. They're kind of being hindered. And so they're going to, it's going to take them some time and a couple a round or two. And as they are digging, I'm going to roll. Do they hear the sound of the hunter as he hears all these noise, and he hears them kind of talking and going, okay, we need to clear this out. Let's move. If he makes a noise. So 13, so that would be a yes. So he hears them and he cries out, and he's like, hello, help, help me. And I'm on the other side of this debris. And so, can you help me? And so as they go, they're going to, I'm just going to say, it takes a little bit of time. They're able to clean out the debris. And I know the 2 doesn't seem to make it, like they did fail on the 2, but I'm going to, you can have they can roll again after they take some time to clear. It's just going to kind of slow them down a little bit. And they finally, I will give them one more roll. They cleaned the debris, but they cleaned away and they think they have a path. But is this path stable for them? That's what I'm going to do with this too. It's going to say that it was blocked. They cannot get through unless they worked on it. So they work on this debris. And so is it stable for them to get through? So here we go. So a 4, no, but I'm going to let them, so the first person who would go would be the halfling soldier. So I'm going to let him burn his luck token and see if he can make it through. And it's a DC 12. 14. So he is able to make it through, and he gets in and he notices, like, okay, it's stable. So his luck token is gone. Come on. And so they move through the passageway into number 4. And so we know that the last one is a treasure room that is protected by a trap. Now the question is, did the hunter, was he the one who sprung the trap? And that's why he is trapped on the other side of the room as well. 20, yes, he is the one who sprung the trap. So if you roll a natural 1 or 20, the outcome is the most extreme version possible. So what that's going to mean is that he sprung the trap, and it was a deadly trap. It was I think I rolled, it was an arrow trap of some kind. So they find him, but he is pinned to the wall by this giant bolt. And so he's the one who took the the damage, and he's trapped in there. And so he's in an extreme situation as they look at him, and Mill, the surgeon, looks at him and he says, there's no way, if we pull him off the wall, there's no way he's going to survive. You know, he's just dying this brutal death from this arrow that had came out and stuck him to the wall. And it's probably a bunch of arrows, but the one that finally caught him. And so he is stuck, and they not realize that they can't do it. And he kind of looks at Imrid, and they look at each other, and I'm going to say, is Imrid I'm going to use my oracle. Is he friendly towards the hunter? Were they friends? 12. Yes, they were friends. So he gets sad to see that his friend is dying. He walks up to him, and he basically tells them that he will, tell everyone what happened to him, and that he had a, heroic death, and, and that he will make sure that they will stay here in the room. I want to say heroic death. He's going to stay in there to the room until his buddy passes, and so that maybe he'll go ahead and finish him off, knowing that he can't survive. But he'll stay there till he dies, and that they will remove him and they will take his body back so that he can be properly buried as part of the Rangers, as a ranger in the area, the local area around Range Bridge, and I will flesh out this group now that I have stuff to do. But that gives me something that between sessions I can do this. So he does his friend. He takes him down, and as they're in there and everybody starts looking around, and this is where they find that this is the treasure room. And so we said that the treasure was protected by when you roll on the jeez, I should have had the ShadowDark map. Oh, come on. I've been using this thing so much that it sticks together. Where in the world? ShadowDark map. So when you roll on the treasure, it was guarded by a trap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here to treasure on the 1, 2, and 3 here, of 0 through 3, because that's their party. I'm going to find out what they have. Let's see what the treasure is. What do they risk their lives, and they find in this thing? A 75. So they find a silver and gold circlet. So what they find in this last room, the treasures, this is the tomb, a tomb in here. And so they look around, and the hunter had tried to open the tomb, the arrows had came out, and what they find inside the tomb is, around the head of the person laying here, is a silver and gold circlet worth 40 gold. So they find a silver and gold circlet for 40 gold. So they actually, so after they do this, they're able to make it back. And they head back to Iron Bridge. And so really, it's kind of interesting how the adventure played out, because it's free the hunter into catacombs, and the freeing that they did is freeing him from the trap that he had sprung when he tried to go into this cave, find out what was going on as he was searching, and he found a tomb. He tried to open the tomb, and in that tomb, the arrow had shot out, and it had killed him. So, and so they did free the hunter, but not in the way that we thought freeing the hunter would be. And so that's my first adventure. So my guys are going to come back to town, and so they have a 40 gold piece circlet that they will that they will sell, and that now then they're going to all be in my next session is going to be them leveling up and finding out who are they going to be, how are they going to their adventures, what type of how do they become first level. So this is their first one. They survived their little gauntlet. They went through some very lucky rolls, especially on a, I mean, it's not a strong gauntlet with a lot of creatures, but it is an interesting that they did have a chance for the bugbear. The bugbear just flat out missed with 4s and 5s, and even when he did get something, he was still under her armor class. So they survived the dungeon. They get back. They come back to Iron Bridge. They bring back the body of the hunter, so that Imrid is able to bury him. And you know, one of the things I'm going to probably do with Imrid is that, yeah, he does have this kind of, he came in, he's got a kind of a selfish nature to him, but he's also very chaotic. He's very individualistic, and so that's what makes him a ranger. He's someone who does things for his own, but he really likes the fact that these halflings went with him, and they come back, so they'll come back to the cavern, and they'll hang out, and these people will help him bury his friend and do stuff. And so we have the beginning of a little party getting together. You know, they had some success. And so what we're going to do next, I'm going to go ahead and end it tonight and just kind of show you how I run it. But the next time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flesh out some stuff. I'll tell you the story of what's going on before we go on our next adventure. I'm going to roll on the carousing rules as well. I will probably start the next adventure with the carousing rules, and then from there I will roll up the next adventure and we'll just get going. So they come back to the city of Iron Bridge, successful from their first adventure into the ShadowDark, the Citadel of the Crushed Skull, and obviously there'll probably be more adventures there. That's just one of the things that could be there. So again, thank you. Leave a comment. I know this is a long video, and so, but I really wanted to walk you through how I do it. And then, like I said, I'll write up what went on through my adventure. But this is really how I'm doing it. The next one could be a little bit shorter, because what I usually do is I take my map, I run it straight down the middle, and I put everything on the side. So I have everything designed. And maybe I could have done that, but I didn't want to waste pages. I already had this done. But be a little bit more prepared with the bugbear and the apprentice and stuff like that. But this is how, just showing you kind of how I use the book. I go straight through one to the other, scene from one scene to the other scene, rolling the dice, having a little bit of fun. Got my RPG for tonight shot. But anyway, thank you for my session 1. I know it's a little bit messy, but I promise you it'll get better as we go along. So y'all have a great evening. I'll see you for session 2.